Today, we honor Gary and Julie Ransdell as the newest inductees in the WKU Hall of Distinguished Alumni. For the past 20 years, they served WKU as a team, so it is most appropriate and indeed quite special that we induct them as a team. The successful transformation of our university has been their life's work, a labor of love that began the day they stepped on the Hill as students. We are grateful for their leadership, service, and dedication to this institution, to this community, and especially to our faculty, our staff, and our students. On a personal note, Casey and I are especially appreciative of the manner in which both Julie and Gary both welcomed us and made sure that the transition went smoothly, and we had everything we needed to get off to a terrific start. And I want to take this opportunity to personally thank both of them. And now I invite you to turn your attention to the video screens for more on the life and legacy of Gary and Julie Ransdell.
I would describe Julie Ransdell as one who is graceful, strong, thoughtful, and focused.
I would describe Gary Ransdell as motivated, goal-oriented, kind, and loving.
The youngest of 3 children born to Gerald and Annabeth Ransdell in Louisville, Kentucky, the young Gary Allen, with his white blonde hair and being the only Ransdell child born in the South, inherited the nickname Cotton Top. His mother, a history buff, instilled a love of reading in her children, along with a can-do attitude. And from his father, an engineer, Gary learned the value of hard work. He describes his time at Durrett High School as a magical time. He was an average student, a high school student government leader who spent his summers working odd jobs, with one caveat, that his 3 best friends work with him. In 1969, Gary headed south to Western Kentucky University, armed with a clock radio and a trunk filled with every stitch of clothing he owned. Born just 9 days before Gary in the fall of 1951 in Danville, Kentucky, Julie Bush entered the world, the oldest of 2 children born to insurance and real estate agents Lee and Becky Bush. The family later relocated to Louisville. An introvert with a core group of friends, Julie attended Westport High School, where she led a somewhat sheltered life, playing older sister to her brother Harry and preparing to attend Western Kentucky University to pursue a degree in elementary education. It would be on the Hill in Bowling Green, Kentucky, that Gary Allen Ransdell and Julie Bush would begin a lifetime of shared experiences centered around that very hill and the university it houses. Gary and Julie met in the fall of 1971 while attending a Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity party. The SAE little sister and active Chi Omega, Julie caught the eye of the young pledge, but the initial attraction wasn't mutual.
No, the funny thing was it was love at first sight for him. It was not so much love at first sight for me. I was dating somebody else at the time, and he decided to pledge SAE, so, there wasn't much he could do until he became an active.
They were never a couple that I would ever have expected to get married, really not. Now I look back and, gosh, for 45 years, yes, they were a match, but no, that was not who I would have put together in college.
And I would not have done a matchmake thing with Gary and Julie when I first knew them, but once they became an item, clearly they were kind of perfect for each other.
The couple married in their senior year at WKU. Gary received a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communications in 1973 and a Master of Public Service and Public Administration in 1974. Julie earned her Bachelor of Science in Elementary Education a year later. The Ransdells credit WKU's 5th president, Dr. John D. Minton, for helping to steer them toward a career in higher education.
Once we went to Indiana University to get a doctorate, he knew exactly what he wanted to do, be a university president somewhere, sometime.
Gary received his Doctor of Education degree from Indiana University in 1978. He served 4 years as Vice President for Administration and Advancement and 7 years as Vice President for Institutional Advancement at Clemson University in South Carolina. From 1981 to 1987, Ransdell served as Director of Alumni Relations at Southern Methodist University. And in the fall of 1997, Gary and Julie returned to WKU as the university's 9th president and first lady. Team Ransdell was born.
I had a conversation with Gary really early in the search process. He called me about that he wanted to be president of the university, and I remember telling him that his best asset would be Julie, and she was.
One of the unique things about my presidency and the one that Julie and I have shared, don't forget we took an 18-year road trip from 1981 to 1997 at 2 different institutions, and I was able to build a career that paid dividends when I came back to WKU as president. But Julie has been there every step of the way. We loved having both our sons graduate from here, watching both boys take the field in a WKU uniform on our baseball field. Both of them are superb students, all in as students, and they still are. Our daughter-in-law Brooke is an alumnus. She was a baseball sweetheart, following Patrick around, and she was a cheerleader here.
So I think by working as a team, we were able to do all the things that he wanted to do. He worked so hard during the day in the office that when he got home and we had events in the evening, he never had to worry about it. All he had to do was show up, because I enjoyed figuring out who would be there for the 12 people at dinner or the 200 in the backyard for dinner. And I enjoyed figuring out, okay, we only have $30, so what can I do for $30 a head type thing. So that's another way that we worked as a team together. You know, he did the office stuff, I got to do the fun stuff.
The Ransdells hit the ground running and for more than 2 decades never looked back. An agent of change, the young leader set to work restoring a crumbling campus infrastructure, extending WKU's international reach, and with his biggest supporter right by his side, created a philanthropic culture of giving while re-energizing the Big Red spirit.
He caught a rising tide for change, and he is temperamentally and creatively well-suited to that kind of leadership. And he has absolutely maximized what was possible for this institution in that kind of setting.
Dr. Ransdell co-chaired 2 successful capital campaigns with businessman Don Vitelli, raising over $200 million in private support. WKU now has a philanthropic base from which to build.
He's very inspirational, and his enthusiasm was contagious, and it inspired me to work for 12 years to support his goals that I deemed to be extremely important for the institution and, as a corollary, the entire region.
Well, there's no question the most important attribute, I think, of President Ransdell is his vision. He perceived this institution as something much greater, and the second thing is he was able to sell that vision. And the third point is he was able to raise the money to enact it.
Julie Ransdell added to the university's renewed spirit of giving as co-chair of the WKU Sisterhood, a group of women who pool their resources to support worthy university projects.
That Julie Ransdell's a sneaky one. We'd be in the middle of deliberations over, particular projects that we might want to fund or how to direct certain resources, and she always had the inside track on, here's a focus of the university going into the next fiscal year, or here are some programs that we're really hoping to bolster, and she would give this sage advice, and I'd be like, I see what you're doing there. You know what you're talking about. That's sneaky, lady. but she always had the greatest, soundest advice. I mean, she knew where the resources were needed the most because she was integrally involved in the day-to-day life on that campus. So her voice was always a voice of reason and has been really helpful in the sisterhood's ability to make a real impact.
An ardent dog lover, it was not unusual to see the First Lady making her way across campus with one or more of her four-legged friends in tow. The Ransdells' genuine hospitality saw many a visitor pass through the President's house on Chestnut Street. Few of them left as a stranger. In 2011, the university honored its 9th president by naming the newly constructed education building in his honor. Gary Ransdell Hall is just one of more than $800 million in renovation and construction projects completed on the WKU campus since 1998. Bricks and mortar notwithstanding, perhaps the Ransdells' most lasting legacy will be the scores of students whose lives they've touched along the way.
Dr. Ransdell and Julie they were all in. I don't think there's any other president that was very involved in the student day-to-day life or game day life. To see him and Julie around all the time was big time, and I really think as a student, when you come there and you can see the president and the First Lady walking around campus and talking to you and getting to know you on a first name basis, it's really helpful when you go off to school and you want to be in a family environment, and that's one thing they provide there is a big time family environment.
I asked both of them, what are you going to miss most once you retire? And they both responded separately, the students. So I think that speaks well of what the Western spirit is and the spirit that they have for this university.
And how would they like to be remembered?
Builder, that I was all in, completely loyal to this institution. A change agent, a leader, somebody that led this institution to become something that maybe we didn't think we were capable of becoming when we started. Leader, builder, friend, somebody who cared.
I understand that you reach a point and you say, okay, it's time to finish this chapter, close the book, and start a new one. So I knew he would do something else. Wasn't sure what it would be. This is perfect because it still deals with students and faculty. He has to find a new student body, a new faculty every single semester. And so he will be very involved in that. He's been very good at raising money in all of our higher education stops, and he will need to raise money for semester at sea as it's a very expensive program to run. So I'm extremely thrilled that he's doing it. You know, we've never lived in Colorado, so it'll be interesting. That's another adventure.
2017 WKU Hall of Distinguished Alumni inductees, Dr. Gary A. and Julie B. Ransdell.
I'm not the speaker in the family, so I said I'd go first. Two people real quick that are not in my notes that I did want to recognize. I've sat through many of these dinners, luncheons, and sometimes I got recognized and sometimes I didn't. And that's okay. But we have two First Ladies in this audience. We have the current First Lady, which is Casey Caboni, which I would like to stand, please. And when I was a student, we had Mrs. Harriet Downing was the First Lady. Harriet, I know you're here. I saw you earlier. There she is. Sometimes it's a thankless job, so I thank both you ladies. Like I said, I'm not the speaker in the family, so I will make this very short and sweet. First, I have a few thank yous that we've got to get through. I want to thank the Alumni Association and Dr. Anthony McAdoo for this honor. It truly means the world to Gary and I, so thank you. My children couldn't be here. They came for the gala. Patrick is in higher education, and they have their homecoming this weekend. So Patrick and Brooke and Walker and Collins could not be here. Matthew was supposed to move into a new townhouse in August, and then the hurricane came in September. So they're moving into a new place, and they were unable to come today. So they're very special. They were my universe for many, many years, and I'm sorry they couldn't be here. My brother Harry and his wife Elaine and my nephew Jonathan from that side of the family are here. Years ago, Harry followed me to WKU. He has sent 2 sons to us. And in the last few years, while my mother was so ill, he found the time and the patience to care for her. He lived in Louisville, and I did not. He took care of everything. I will be forever indebted to you. I am grateful. I admire you, and I love you greatly. There was a time when he pushed me off the roof of the garage when we were young. And there was a time we were playing baseball, and I got hit right here in the nose with a bat. But other than that, you are special. One of my favorite sayings is friends are our chosen family. And this rings true for me with several groups. We have a group of friends, 6 guys that were fraternity brothers, all the way back 45 years ago. We still do things together. We travel the world together. We meet for dinner. We spend New Year's Eve together every year. We have an annual mountain trip where we hike together. We are family. Those that are here, we call ourselves the herd because we kind of move as a herd. So as I call your name, if you are here, John and Susan Minton, Kevin and Gail Brooks, Hamp and Mary Lloyd Moore, John and Carolyn Ridley, Rick and Kanda Rink from Indianapolis. Thank you guys, because you kept it real for us, and it was never the president and his wife at an event, so thank you. I also have a group of lunch buddies. We have had lunch together constantly. We have gone through major birthday cakes. So I would like to recognize Dixie Mehurin, Pam Hereford, Frida Eggleton, and Debbie Wilkins for all your support over all these years. Thank you. And then, without a doubt, my favorite group on campus is the Sisterhood. The Sisterhood is a group of women who have shared values, who enjoy collaborating for the advancement of a mission at WKU. Members pool their financial gifts and award the funds to the university community. WKU, when Dr. Downing was president, was a state-supported university. It is now barely state-assisted. So these groups on campus need the money. They have goals to be met, and the resources are slim. So to the outstanding women of the Sisterhood, please stand and be recognized. Sisterhood. And one more thank you has to go to my husband, Gary. Last year at the Summit Awards, if you were there, I sang, which was the one and only time in public that I would ever sing. But I sang The Bear Went Over the Mountain. And if you haven't ever had that as a child, it's the bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain to see what he could see. He's the bear. And we've been over many, many mountains, and I followed along gladly, and every day was a surprise. We've been fortunate to love life and always do what we loved doing. We have raised 2 terrific children, 7 dogs, 3 cats, and 2 beautiful children. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Gary, so thank you. And seeing as I'm that dog person, and for years I walked those dogs through campus every morning at 6:30, so my message today needs to be about dogs. As I would walk down Park Street, I would run across a woman almost every morning walking her Great Pyrenees. They are big, beautiful white dogs, and they are bred by shepherds as a guardian for the sheep in their pasture. They are fiercely protective. When I look at this crowd, I see Great Pyrenees everywhere. You are the great protectors of WKU. Through your gifts of time, talent, and resources, you are caring for something outside of yourselves. And like the lamb, WKU is very vulnerable. She will need you as a guardian, and that's what makes you special. She has potential, and it will take every one of you for her to reach that potential. And as for us, we never had individual goals. This was always a team effort. We were a team, but we were a team with every one of you in here. It takes a team in order to move things forward. So thank you for your help. Thank you for making WKU one of the most special places on campus. The Cabonis will love being here, and they will do a terrific job. WKU has been our purpose. We thank you for your friendship and for all that you have done. We are honored to stand here today to receive this wonderful award. So for me, keep the WKU spirit alive and go Tops.
Damn, wish I'd have gone first. Well, you can see she was a pretty good fundraiser, can't you? It doesn't get any better than this. It just doesn't get any better than this. And to completely dispel that myth of Friday the 13th, this is the best of days and the best of moments. This is strong. We thank you. I do want to thank the Alumni Association Board of Directors for honoring us, both of us, with this best of all recognitions. Thank you, Anthony McAdoo, Tracy Morrison, Jenny Hensley, Lucinda Anderson, Summer Bacon, and all of the staff in the Office of Alumni Relations, and everyone serving on the Alumni Board of Directors. Thanks for choosing us together, and thanks for orchestrating a great event here today on Homecoming Weekend. And thanks to Barbara Deeb and Cheryl Beckley and our entire team in Public Affairs and with WKU PBS, you're the best. But as for why we, Julie and me, why we are here today receiving this honor, I must thank several groups who caused this to occur. Thank you, Regents, past and present, and especially 8 people, the 8 board chairs with whom I was so privileged to work. Peggy Loafman, Kristen Bell, Cornelius Martin, Lois Gray, Earl Fisher, Jim Meyer, David Porter, and Freddie Higdon. What a special and dedicated group of leaders who supported and enabled me for 20 years. Thank you. And my colleagues on the Administrative Council, many of you are here today, past and present, thank you. Thank you for the teamwork, the dedication to this university, and your support for the bold agenda that we pursued together. We shared a passion for one university, this university, and I've said for years that I was surrounded by talented people who did their job better than I could ever have done their job, and together we transformed our university. And to some very special faculty and staff who embraced that bold vision for WKU and pursued it with conviction and resolve in good times and in tough times, thank you. These are the colleagues with whom I was so fortunate to share a 20-year adventure, the culmination of my professional journey. But there were 3 groups that formed the center of my WKU universe. Julie and our family certainly is group number one. Patrick, Brooke, Matthew and Sandra, and those two special grandchildren, Walker and Collins. Julie and I were very fortunate to share Patrick and Matthew and Brooke's WKU experience with them, and to watch Patrick and Matthew take the baseball field in a WKU uniform for 8 straight years was magic for Julie and me. As with Matthew and Sandra's wedding in the Chandler Memorial Chapel on campus. But we were also fortunate to share the WKU experience with 3 nephews and a niece. Troy and Lindsay, the son and daughter of my brother Denny and my sister-in-law Jan and Denny. Mom and Dad would have been proud. And Michael and Johnny, son of Julie's brother Harry and sister-in-law Elaine, and even a goddaughter, Stephanie Rink, daughter of Dr. Rick and Kanda Rink. Family comes first. And since WKU is a very close second, how special it was to share this campus with those we love. But back to Julie. I'm so grateful that the Alumni Association Board of Directors chose to honor Julie in this way. Yes, it's cool that we are the first couple to be inducted into the Hall of Distinguished Alumni, and she is so deserving in her own right. She never really liked the term First Lady. It was just not how she sees herself. She's a mother, a teacher, a dog trainer, and when there's time, a wife and a partner to me. But this job changed most of that. For 20 years, she worked her heart out for this university. Not just because my job demanded it, but because she too was all in for WKU. Julie became a mother/mentor for so many students. She was the most gracious hostess for so many campus guests who felt so welcomed at so many campus events. Together, we closed a lot of gifts and navigated a lot of political dynamics. And my Lord, did she ever bring balance and perspective and reality to me and my work. A lot of people tell you what you want to hear in this job. That never happened at home. You always saw her smiling, but we both shared our tensions and our frustrations and our anxieties over our shared work with each other. She sized people up pretty quickly, but treated everyone as though they were royalty. And she's right, I did have a habit of putting events and dinners and receptions and meetings in the president's home and recruiting visits and high-level interviews and so on the calendar. And I tried to show up on time, knowing that every detail, every right tone of hospitality, food and drink, and it was perfectly handled. Thank you, Jules. And thank you, Lucinda. Boy, did you ever witness the Ransdell marriage up close. And I could share stories forever, but I'm going to share one with you in which both Julie and I tossed all hospitality norms completely to the wind, literally. I'm thinking this occurred around 1998. I'd arranged an interview with Wood Seelig, who was then the Associate Athletic Director at the University of Virginia, and it was 8 a.m. at the President's home. We were going to have breakfast, and that was going to be his interview, as he was interested in becoming our athletic director. Well, late the night before, at that very time in midsummer, the Bowling Green Balloon Festival was scheduled for that weekend. And Mark and Ann Allen, very dear friends, Julie's dog walking partner for 20 years across campus, had connections with the balloon teams that were coming into Bowling Green. And so they called late the night before and said, we got to rehearse the next morning. You want to go up in a balloon, 6 a.m. or daylight. They had to be there like at 5 a.m. Let's go for a balloon ride in the morning as a practice run for the balloon festival. And our son Matthew was at Bowling Green High at the time, and we all three said, hey, we're in, man, no kidding. We forgot what we had scheduled. We were all in. So we were there at daylight, and we went up in a balloon and crossed over Warren County, and it was a spectacular moment. Absolutely fantastic. Perfect weather, although it was pretty warm that early in the morning. Well, what we didn't know, and were a little bit surprised to learn, was the tradition when you do your first balloon ride, there's a christening at the end. And so the balloon landed somewhere out on some farm in Warren County. And so we were asked to get down on our knees and say a prayer to the gods for a safe journey. Which, okay, we can do that. We did that. So we got down on our knees. And so the pilot and the crew and Mark and Ann, everybody came up behind us and just completely drenched us in champagne. Completely drenched us in champagne. And that was the christening. Everybody laughed. That was great. And so on the way home, we called Lucinda and said, Lucinda, have Wood meet us on the patio. And so we got to the house about 5 minutes after 8. And Wood was waiting for us in a suit, and it was, it was about 85 degrees. It was hot, sitting there on the patio. And Julie and I, we just decided we're going to have some fun with this. So we arrived, and we sat on either side of Wood, in our T-shirt and shorts, completely drenched in champagne. And so we started that interview. We sat there for about 20 minutes, just getting acquainted, never once referenced our circumstance. Wood was sweating. And he it was classic. It was classic. And after about 20 minutes, we finally broke and started laughing and told Wood that we really weren't just getting in from a night of partying. And so we went in, Julie served breakfast, and we had a great interview. And to this day, literally to this morning, I got a text from Wood laughing about that moment. But that's how we approached our work together. It was fun, and we wouldn't do a thing different than even that as we pursued this adventure. Beyond the personal relationships of family, however, were the other two groups that we treasured, and it was mentioned in the video. It was our relationships with students that we enjoyed most. The hugs, the high fives, the selfies, the embracements at so many commencements, the cookouts, the receptions, the parties with so many student groups of all variety at the president's home. We wore that place out. And those were the best of times. That's what we loved, who we loved, and who I believe we served the best, and who we missed the most. So there are several Hilltopper students here today, and I want you to stand up. All students here today. We got Spirit Masters, we have Alumni Ambassadors, maybe other students that are here today. Students, if you're a WKU student right now, stand up. Come on, students, stand up. Folks, this is it. You got to know how much we appreciate you and what you do every day at and for this university. And then there are our alumni, our fellow alumni. So many personal friends, so many old and new and lasting friendships made over the years. The support provided by our alumni made nearly everything which led to this award possible. So many alumni events, so many private and public meetings, so many ball games, so many legacy students from parents who shaped our institutional values and our traditions, so many gifts, large and small, to WKU, all critical to lift our university in countless ways. As Julie indicated, our best friends in the world were classmates here. so dear to us. So I would like for all it's homecoming. All WKU alumni, stand up and let Julie and me thank you, and then let's give each other a round of applause. So if you're an alumnus of this university, stand up and thank you. And finally, my undergraduate campus life centered largely around, and it was mentioned in the video, my fraternity. Greek life has taken some hits lately, and deservedly so. But my fraternity brothers have supported me and provided a deep bond of friendship for 46 years. And I would like for all SAEs here today in the audience to stand and let me say thank you to each of you. If you're an SAE, stand up. Thanks, guys. I really wasn't able to say this for 20 years because I just couldn't, but you guys are the best. Actually, Julie and I, as the video said, met through the fraternity, so we should be sharing this recognition here today with you. So about this most special of honors, if the Hall of Distinguished Alumni is intended to recognize hilltoppers who have achieved a certain level of success in their chosen profession and represented or served WKU with distinction, then we both are humbled, proud, and moved by this honor. And as far as I'm concerned, and I know I am completely and unabashedly biased, there's only one university that represents what I consider to be the best in American higher education. And if serving in the presidency of this penultimate institution personifies achievement in my chosen profession, then perhaps, maybe, we are worthy of this award. And then maybe I did reach the top of what is important to me in my professional universe. This is it for me. Nothing else, nowhere else matters to me to the degree that WKU matters to me. Leading and serving my university, culminating in this award, brings my professional passions together, including WKU's earned status as Kentucky's leading university, and one now, in my opinion, worthy of national recognition. The global community, the global learning enjoyed by some of Kentucky's and the nation's best students on this campus, and a rebuilt campus, and an endowment of consequence, and a university in which we can all take great pride. Receiving this award, in my mind, validates that Julie and I, along with all of our boards who serve this institution, our faculty and our staff, our alumni and donors, together, we achieved the charge given to us by the Board of Regents in 1997 to raise our sights, to rebuild the campus physically, to create a culture of philanthropy, and to lead a transformation. So on behalf of all of those groups and individuals who gave their time, their energy, their talent, and their intellect, and their resources to enable things to occur, we both say thank you. And just as a student experiences the bookends of admissions and graduation in their undergraduate experience, Julie and I appreciate the set of bookends we have experienced between my appointment on September 12, 1997, and receiving this award here today, 20 years later, and all of the memories we made with you in between. The magic for us continues and will always, always fill our hearts. Thank you, and go Tops.